Very good. Thank you. Well, good morning, everyone, and thank you for being at the Public Safety Committee meeting this morning and joining us by Zoom. We have two topics today. We're going to receive a briefing on the new Office of Animal Services, and that will be followed by a briefing on the report on the Perdido Bay Terrace Significant Incident Review, and we'll hear from both the police and fire departments on that. I did, as we begin, want to welcome a new person for public safety this morning, and that's Carlos Camacho, who is an analyst. He's a legislative analyst. He will be joined by Susan, and this is Carlos's first meeting with us. He will be joined by Susan Farag, who's also a legislative analyst, and this is not her first meeting with us. So we thank both of them for all their hard work and for everything that they do. We will be, during the briefing of the committee, we will hear from Tom Koenig, the Executive Director of the Office of Animal Services, as well as others from the Office of Animal Services. Alexandro Lex Lipiars is the Deputy Executive Director, Dr. Gregory Lawrence, the Chief Veterinarian, Bonnie White, the Business Operations Manager, Livonia Bird, the Field Operation Supervisor, Jack Breckenridge, the Cruelty Investigator, who's with Montgomery County Police Department as well as the Office of Animal Services, and Trevor Lowball, who's from the Fiscal and Policy Analyst of the Offices of Management and Budget. And with that, we're going to ask Mr. Camacho if you would please begin to lead us through this packet.
Sure. Thank you so much, Councilmember Katz and the committee. Yes, in May 2020, the Council passed Expedited Bill 2120, which transferred the duties of the Division of Animal Services that was housed within the Police Department to a new non-principal office in the executive branch called the Office of Animal Services. I'll also refer to the office as OAS. So the goal of this legislation was to increase performance accountability and bring more attention to the core mission of the Office of Animal Services, which is to serve and protect all animals and citizens in Montgomery County with dedication and compassion by strengthening the human-animal bond through education, humane law enforcement, and by promoting responsible guardianship. So throughout this transition, the mission of OAS remains unchanged, but OAS has had to change some internal processes, which I'll touch on in a bit, and also work with various departments within Montgomery County to ensure continuity of services. So OAS assigned MOUs with the Office of Human Resources to conduct background investigations for new hires, the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office regarding OAS's Safe Keep program, and HHS regarding rabies control. OAS also has MOAs in place with the City of Gaithersburg, the City of Rockville, and the Maryland National Park and Planning Commission, outlining policies regarding mutual cooperation in the acceptance of animals brought to the shelter by city animal control staff and park police.
If I can interrupt, an MOA is a Memorandum of Understanding, just so those who are watching. Thanks.
Thank you. The police department, of course, has also supported OAS throughout this transition process, and both institutions continue to work together to ensure the safety of Montgomery County residents and the welfare of animals. An MOU between OAS and MCPD can be found in your packet at Circle 19 through 23, and covers things like a procurement agreement regarding staff uniforms and officer equipment, the use of police-related software applications and technology, and the housing of a cruelty investigator position within MCPD. Now transitioning to what has happened with OAS with regards to COVID-19. So, like all other entities in Montgomery County and the entire world, it's been impacted by the virus. While things like animal care, admissions, veterinary services, and field operations have not been severely impacted by the virus, other things like adoption services, animal transfers, and OAS's volunteer program have had to adjust in order to keep staff and the public safe. OAS had to close its adoption center at the start of the pandemic, but has since reopened and has managed animal intakes and adoptions by appointment only with a 15 to 20 minute spread between appointments to minimize crowding within the intake and adoption areas. OAS has also taken steps to protect its staff, requiring all staff to wear PPE, personal protective equipment, limiting the number of staff that come into the shelter each day, at least at the beginning of the pandemic, although they're now currently running fully staffed, procuring plastic barriers for customer service staff and adoption counselors, and also putting in place procedures for the drop-off and isolation of animals that could have been exposed to COVID-19. Another point of note is that because of the state moratorium on the collection of fees, OAS has not been enforcing pet licensing requirements. OAS continues to send renewal notices to pet owners, but no enforcement requiring the purchase of licenses is being employed. As a result, OAS has issued almost 1,500 fewer licenses and took in $36,613 less in revenue from pet licenses in FY20 compared to FY19. Another impact on shelter operations has been the cancellation of rabies clinics. So in a normal year, OAS conducts 6 free rabies clinics to county residents, but has had to cancel these due to COVID-19. But starting in October, OAS plans to hold weekly rabies clinics available by appointment only. Unfortunately, the shelter has yet to continue its volunteer program due to health concerns, but a good news is that the number of hours logged by volunteers in FY20 increased compared to FY19 due to an increase in foster volunteer hours. So I think the most interesting piece of information that OAS collects and has shared with the council are indicators on animal outcomes. So to highlight a few things, the average daily population for FY20 was 271 animals compared to 291 in FY19. OAS believes that the decline in the average daily population may be due to increased operational efficiency, such as placing an increased emphasis on maintaining an efficient animal flow throughout the shelter process. In FY20, OAS performed 5,813 intakes, which is a 2% increase compared to last fiscal year. This increase was caused in part by an increase in confiscation intakes and wildlife intakes. In terms of returning animals to their owners, 84% of stray dogs were returned to owners in FY20, while stray cats had a return to owner rate of only 11%. While this is seemingly low, the average return to owner rate for cats is 6%. So OAS is doing very well in comparison to the national rate. OAS's return to owner rate overall for all animals was 45%. OAS's live release rate was 89%, a decrease of 2% compared to last fiscal year. The live release rate for dogs was 94% and 90% for cats. While there are fewer cats and dogs euthanized in FY20, there was a slight uptick in euthanasia totals for other animals, for example, roosters and mice, but no healthy adoptable animals were euthanized in FY20. As I mentioned before with the foster volunteer hours, 451 animals were placed into foster care homes in FY20, a slight increase compared to FY19, where 433 animals were placed in foster homes. So that kind of touched on the animal outcomes piece. Now I want to shift back to some changes in operations that have happened since the transition. So OAS has made some notable changes to its dispatch procedures and also to its deer disposal system. So with regards to the dispatch, OAS received 21,466 calls for service in FY20. That's an increase of 14% compared to last fiscal year. One of OAS's main focus during this transition has been to assume dispatching functions from Montgomery County's Public Safety Emergency Communication Center, or ECC, and streamline its dispatch procedures. So the purpose of this change was to reduce the time that ECC dispatchers spent on animal-related calls and to also improve responses by providing timely subject matter expertise directly to callers and to officers. OAS has differentiated calls based on levels of priority, whereby dispatchers are trained to provide guidance to callers for low-risk situations, so things like animal nuisance calls that do not pose a threat to the human or the animal, allowing officers to respond to higher priority emergencies in which a person cannot handle the situation on their own. OAS dispatchers take calls 16 hours a day, 5 days a week. However, OAS plans to increase their call-taking window to 7 days a week once 2 staff members that were previously infected with COVID-19 return to work. Calls outside of this time frame are routed to ECC, and OAS plans to collect customer satisfaction data through surveys in order to evaluate the efficacy of this new dispatch operation. With regards to the deer disposal system, OAS is contracted with Curtis Bay Medical Waste Services, Inc. for the disposal of dead deer and other wildlife found in Montgomery County. This service requires that dead deer be frozen prior to disposal, which led to the purchase of a freezer system that is now located at the State Highway Administration site in Gaithersburg. In terms of staffing, OAS currently has 5 vacancies out of a total of 74 positions, 2 of which are in the process of recruitment, including one for an adoption supervisor and one for a veterinary assistant. The org chart can be found at Circle 53. In terms of the budget, so OAS prepared its first independent budget for FY21. There were no new positions approved for this budget year, but a priority for future requests may include adding veterinary, field operations, animal care, or other key program positions, such as for the volunteer program. The final approved FY21 budget was $7.7 million, around there, with personnel costs totaling around $6.1 million and other expenditures totaling $1.65 million. This includes the county executive's approved savings plan reductions. In terms of vehicles, OAS fleet management has been transitioned over to County Fleet Services with the help of MCPD fleet staff. OAS's long-term goal is to increase its fleet so as to assign a vehicle to each officer. This would enable officers to report to their assigned districts ready to respond without first having to drive to the shelter facility. One more thing of note is that, the transition for OAS to its own independent office is still ongoing and will likely continue into the fall and winter as they continue to develop their procedural infrastructure and policy framework. Also, in 2019, OAS was the first shelter in Maryland to be evaluated based on the Department of Agriculture's minimum standards of care. The shelter and the veterinary office had no violations and only 5 correctable minor issues that were identified by inspectors. So that is basically the highlights of my staff report. I'd like to thank Director Tom Koenig and his staff for all their hard work and collaboration in sharing this information. And now I'd like to turn it over to Director Koenig and his staff to if they would like to introduce themselves or to answer the discussion questions in the staff report and any other questions that the committee may have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Carlos. You did a very, very good job. I know you said we should be kind to you. You were kind to us. We appreciate it. You did a very, very good job. Tom Koenig, please.
Yeah,
Unless my colleagues, does Vice President Hocker or Councilmember Albernas have any questions at this point, or do you want to, we'll go directly to Tom, please.
I do have questions, but I'm happy to wait till after Tom speaks.
Okay, and Councilmember Hocker the same? I couldn't hear you.
Happy to wait. Thank you,
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Please, Mr. Koenig.
Great. Thank you very much. I want to first thank the Public Safety Committee for having us do this presentation. It's been a few years since we've been before the Public Safety Committee, so we have a lot of updates in this. It was a long item. I want to thank Carlos for doing an excellent job putting this package together. We sent him a lot of information, and I think he pulled out what I think is a very representative information about our new department. So I guess I want to start just with an opening real quick, and that's to say that if you'd have told me a year ago that we would be transitioning to a new department, to become a new department during a pandemic, at the busiest time of our lives as far as our work is concerned. And I would have probably said, oh, yeah, let's see how that works. But that's what we're doing. And it's going to take some time to complete this transition. I want to say that these MOUs that are in place, our work with the police department, that continuity of operations, which is so critical to making sure that this transition is seamless in our response to the public and in our care and taking care of the animals that were within the shelter. It was very critical. It was losing our clothing investigators, so to speak, but still having him present with us was a key aspect of this, especially with the police application that he will now supervise and handling all of our criminal and cruelty and abuse cases. So the staff before you, the management team here, and several others that aren't present were critical to get all this done. Everybody has accepted their roles and stepped up and done so much to make this transition take place. The most important thing is everybody's getting paid, so that's kind of critical in making that happen. The rest of it has been the infrastructure. I think the complication with this was primarily that working in the Montgomery County Police Department, they have their own setup infrastructure, which serves as a conduit to the county structure when it comes to administration, whether it's HR, with procurement, contracting, a lot of just our Active Directory, our timekeeping changed. So there was a lot of rules, policies, procedures. So we're putting all of that together and have been working on that consistently. Periodically, we turn a corner and say we've gotten everything covered, and then something new pops up that we don't think about. There's no book on this, on how to make this conversion and how to make it work, but there's a lot of county entities out there that I thank, such as Berkay and just everybody in the county administration that kind of helped us make this transition, and it's moving forward. Trevor Lobow has been very critical because the first thing we had to do was put a budget together. And putting a new budget for the Office of Animal Services and pulling it out of and looking at how it was structured under the police department and maybe coming up with a budget that's representative of the work that we do. And I think we did a very good job. I'm very confident that we're going to do everything we can to stay within those budgetary guidelines and still meet the needs of the community. So I'm very happy about that. Which is really just what I wanted to touch on as an overview. As Carlos said, there's no mission change per se. We're still focused on the same thing. For most of the work that's gone on in the transition, it's not really impacted the staff as much. We're basically, again, just the people that are in this meeting have been involved in that, and then and some others. I know that the staff had questions that I would like to go into. If you want to ask questions around that, if it's okay, I'll answer those questions first, and then we'll go answer any of the council questions.
I think that I'm seeing head shaking from my other colleagues, so please go ahead, Tom.
Okay, so the first question was, what strategies does OAS recommend to improve pet licensing compliance when the moratorium on the collection of fees is lifted? And the first thing is that we would go after the enforcement piece, and that is we were after I arrived, we went to enforcement of compliance for renewals, and that's people who were sent renewal notices and didn't respond. And we give them every opportunity. We do a final notice. We do phone calls. We actually check to make sure that they're still a resident of Montgomery County and that they still have their animal. But that compliance piece, just for the renewals, moved us from 30 to 40% compliance to almost 70%, and even sometimes it was even higher, which was key to making sure that at least the animals that we knew about it that previously had a pet license were getting one again. The next one was the Rabies Clinic, which obviously promoted pet licensing through a rabies vaccination clinic, and we saw about 1,000 animals over a 6-month period that were getting rabies vaccinations and purchasing the licenses through that. Reinstituting that in one form or another will be important. I know with the clinics, they were like on one day, 200 people showed up with all their animals on one day. We're putting, because of COVID-19, we're putting in place an operational procedure that would be still have the clinic. We'll give notices for the licensing at the clinic, but we'll be able to make appointments where people come in 1 day a week, and then we'll do vaccinations through our vet staff and make sure that we're still vaccinating and updating everybody on the vaccinations for their animals. We did some research into this. It's been tried in other jurisdictions, and some of them actually this is kind of a pattern they follow throughout the year. They don't have like specified clinics. They just pick a day, and then people come in and bring their animals in for vaccination. So we're going to assess that, see how it works, and see if we want to stay with this model. Mandatory reporting. There's a bill I put together for mandatory reporting of rabies vaccinations. President Katz, you probably remember this from about 4 or 5 years ago, that we put a bill that went forward to the General Assembly. It passed the Senate, but not the House. But and most of what we heard was, and the feedback was, we need to do something locally first and get our local veterinarians to weigh in on this. So this bill's been put together. It's currently in the county attorney's office. So this bill in itself will not tie rabies vaccinations to licensing, but it will give our department all the information on many animals that are vaccinated that we don't have information on now. So when residents are bitten by a cat or a dog, we can research our own database pretty quickly, or if they're in the hospital, we can research their database before they have to go through the prophylactics on the shots, the post-exposure shot. So there's a lot, and plus for our own staff, just knowing from our own staff perspective, if we know that they have a rabies vaccination, either they're in the field or they're coming into the shelter, the care and the handling, at least we know whether or not they've been vaccinated for rabies. So it's a kind of a safety protocol. The key to this is going to be, and I've talked to the state public health vet who oversees the health side of this, who's also previously from Virginia like I was, who basically saw this go into effect in Virginia and increased not only licensing compliance, but it had no adverse impact on rabies vaccination compliance, which was one of the concerns of the state vet here, the previous state vet in Annapolis. So what I'll say is that he's willing to take this on as soon as we're able to pass something here. It's in the county attorney's office for review, and this is actually more important than marketing. Though we won't get rid of the marketing strategy. We can do that through our office and the county PIO's office and get a strategy out there to keep pushing out once this moratorium is lifted and we're back to somewhat normal operations. So the next question, and I think the answers will be just a little bit shorter. They'll have, can OS speak to the continued engagement with the community and its nonprofit? Our continued engagement with the community is premised on the fact of how important it is when it comes to the number of animals that are actually in households that are adopted from shelters. There was a study done probably 10 years ago that identified about 20% of the total animals in households were actually obtained through adoption through a shelter or through their local shelter. So you can equate that to a market share of some kind. So our only way to really kind of get out there and compete and get the interest of people to come into the shelter to adopt or to do that is to really do that through our outreach. We do a lot of outreach that way, through website and social media. We've continued that with field operations who's been out there. They have, whether it's personal conversations with people that they run into or have pet emergencies, and information like flyers on where they can go get information or seek help, or who they contact at the shelter to receive some assistance. We've had a lot of help with both McPaul and FMCA have helped out with adoptions. They've offered funding to help offset the fees, which encourages people for more adoptions. Over the years, we've had big one-day events. We've had weekend events. We've had week-long events. In August, we had our first really kind of month-long event where it comes to, we did low-cost adoption, and then we got some funding from the fall and from another source to allow us to be able to give some free adoptions during that period of time. And it was very successful. Other things that we're working on with food pantries, We are participating in a pet pantry program. It's served so far. It's served over 1,300 people at a couple of the food pantries. The pet pantry is coordinated with the nonprofits in our community that support us, and obviously, and we also work with the police department who had a collection through MANA, and then again, the Humane Society of Montgomery County, the Animal Welfare League of Montgomery County, the Friends of Montgomery County Animals, which is FMCA, McCall. Everybody's kind of involved in this, and we're collecting food, and we have plenty to go around to help out citizens with regards to their needs during the pandemic. So public outreach activities have pretty much stopped when it came to going out and to events and activities in the field, or in the community. And so again, we really focused on websites, social media outlets, and other venues like radio and television to kind of serve as that outlet. But again, once this pandemic's resolved, we look forward to going back out and attending public events and activities. So this COVID-19 obviously has had an impact on humans, much more so than you'll hear about than for animals, but it's also had an impact on our animal population. I think the issue with COVID-19 is managing all the protocols that not only protect the staff but also protect citizens. I know our veterinarian chief vet has put in protocols along with our deputy executive director Lex. They put together protocols that for inside the shelter, and then field supervisor Bird, her team put together protocols for people in the field so that you can protect themselves. We have picked up animals in the homes of people who had been either hospitalized or confirmed positive for COVID. It's not been a lot, but it has been. It has happened, and we're prepared for it. With all the proper protective gear. So they're doing a great job of that. So one of the things that we're looking at, and one of the questions about further outreach to the community, prior to the COVID-19, we were looking at program options to enhance our community engagement, particularly as it relates to the underserved or those that have limited knowledge or access to our programs and services. The goal is to do more outreach so that these populations or these areas, that they can get medical exams, they can get vaccinations, treatment for minor injuries or minor illnesses, and they have a place to go. And more importantly, it's just really to hand out information as to where the resources are that they can get the help that they need. So we're looking forward to employing that in the future, and we think it'll go a long way, not only promoting the shelter as a service to the community, but also helping take care of those animals that probably are in need of some care, but maybe they can't afford. So we have restarted the volunteer program. That's question 3, when and under what conditions. So we've kind of opening the shelter in August. We did an evaluation during the month of August based on the number of staff and the number of people that we would allow in. We have a cap on the number of people in the adoption center that was based on the calculators that we received from the CDC and from the direction from the Public Health Office. And in doing so, we put together a plan that would limit the numbers. We've now been able to work through a lot of this, and we are bringing volunteers back, some for dog walking, some to work in the cat area. A lot of them do a lot of socializing and cleaning and care for the cats. We're getting other volunteers to help, but again, it's on a limited basis. We have a lot of enthusiastic volunteers, so we want to make sure that we're meeting their needs and giving them an opportunity to come in and work here at the shelter and get to, serve their love of animals as much as we get to. So I want to approach the OAS, provide some background on the recent intake of animals from Louisiana. We are a network partner with the Best Friends organization. We've been one for a number of years. We were contacted by one of their network partners to see if we could take in animals from Hurricane Dora in one of the locations down in Louisiana. After review of our population and the number of animals that we had, we were able to take in 16 dogs from a facility down there that was damaged to the point where the only way that they could do their reconstruction on it was to have these animals transferred out of their adoption kennel because it was pretty well damaged. So it's going great. Two of the biggest challenge was ensuring we had isolated kennel space so that we could treat and make sure we could care for them, get them to settle in. And then 12 of the dogs came in heartworm positive. So some of them had already started treatment. Others, their first treatment was in our at our facility. And I will say that one dog has already been adopted. We have a second that's really close to completion for adoption. All are very social and relatively easy to handle. And we'll have more available for adoption in the coming next week or so. So, and again, we've had a great response from the community. So the next question is on the question about average length of stay for animals at the shelter. So to save my voice and to give credence to this, Lex LaPierre is going to talk about that and some of the concerns about how we use length of stay and measuring it as far as our success in moving animals through the shelter.
Thank you. Please, Lex.
We don't currently have this number available. That is because length of stay as a measure of success is a form of accounting for animals that is actually no longer utilized by a lot of sheltering facilities. Instead, the idea is that every animal should stay just as long as they need to in order to get the care that they need and the best outcome that's possible without delays. It's really a measure of efficiency. Part of the reason why we don't track it is that there's no agreed upon industry standard. There's no benchmark for this. We do want it to be as short as possible because, again, it's a measure of efficiency and we keep our costs low by a lower length of stay. But length of stay can vary from days to weeks, even months. It just depends on the individual animal's medical and behavioral needs. So with all that said, we are currently in the process of creating a method for formally tracking this.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
And Tom, I guess it's the last question, please.
I think, wasn't that the last question on the list? Oh, no, continuing education. I'm sorry. Yeah, so OAS staff receiving continuing education. So two of our positions for continuing ed credits is the veterinarian and the registered vet techs have state mandated continuing ed requirements. Veterinarians require 18 continuing education hours per year. The registered vet techs require 24 continuing ed credit or hours every 3 years. And of course, this is done typically through conferences and other webinars and things like that. Right now, though, under COVID-19, they've had to do this continuing education through online training and programs. So if you have questions about that, Dr. Lawrence is on. He can fill you in on that. Officers continuing ed credits, there's no state mandated requirements, but we have performance management requirements annually that they take have 4 trainings per year. And we offer a variety of opportunities for them to attend those, whether it's through county training or it's through other state organizations or regional organizations. For example, there are a number of venues around the state and nationally that are available to us for training for all of our staff, and that is through Days End Farms, who hosts a lot of trainings that they offer throughout the region. Professional Animal Workers in Maryland, PAWS, we're members of that state association, and they offer training. All of our officers, care attendants, veterinarians, and any key staff are all trained in euthanasia, and many of them receive this training through the PAWS organization. The Best Friends Animal Society offers webinars and other instructional opportunities. In fact, Lex, as she sits there now, is attending the Best Friends Conference or symposium, so it's over the last couple of days. And the Humane Society of the United States, as you know, puts on a lot of programs annually, webinars, and a lot of things that we can have access to. And we encourage all of our staff, whether it's county training or national training or whatever training, we encourage them to attend those. In addition to the trainings offered by local welfare organizations, including local shelters in the region, there is for lack of a better term, a DMV regional group that directors that meet regularly, and they offer a lot of trainings that they a lot of it's for free for us to attend, or very low cost for a variety of shelter care issues, veterinary operations, just a lot of different kinds of opportunities. So that pretty much covers the.
Thank you. You certainly were very thorough. We appreciate that. Councilmember Albernaz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Koenig, and your staff. I do know, having been a former department head, how stressful it can be to manage departments even in the best of times, and to go through this transition in the midst of a pandemic is remarkable. And kudos to you and your team for that transition. And I also want to give kudos to my Chief of Staff, Joy Nurmi, who, as a former special assistant to County Executive Mike Leggett and a pet lover herself, was very engaged and involved in discussions with OAS, and also served as a bridge with a number of very committed residents who have been so focused on issues important to animal services. So thank you, Joy, for your leadership. I did have a couple questions. Well, first, and also just a story quickly. Earlier this summer, I was out in my backyard. It was like around 6:30 in the morning, and I came across a wild turkey in my backyard in Kensington. And I don't know who was more startled, the turkey or me. But that was the same week that there was a black bear sighting in Silver Spring. So it has been a very unusual time for animals in our area. And so I'm very happy to hear about the progress that's been made and the dedication to addressing some of these unique issues that the pandemic has brought us. I did have a couple questions. So it feels like every other neighbor has bought a dog since the beginning of the pandemic. And I know adoption rates are up. And I have read some articles expressing some concern that as things slowly get back to normal, people that may have purchased these pets may feel that they've bitten off more than they can chew, and may be looking to transition those pets out of their homes. Is that at all something that we can or should be preparing for? Have we looked at other jurisdictions to model best practices that may put us in the best position if there is a surge in pets that are no longer wanted by homes who've been purchased through the pandemic? Any thoughts on that, or do you have those concerns, or do you think they're overblown?
Well, I think with the pandemic also goes along with kind of the recession model where I think you'll remember back in 2008 and 9 when we went through the recession, many pet owners had to make decisions about whether to keep their pets or feed their family. And obviously our goal would be to direct them to resources to help them keep their pets. So our number one goal in the shelter is to close the shelter. I mean, not that we're going to close it to the public, but to get animals to stay in the homes where they're at and promote that as a resource and just be a resource to them. I do anticipate some of it. I believe those that have adopted have made a commitment to that adoption, and through our adoption process and meeting with adopters and doing adoption counseling, we've been able to help them walk through this and say, okay, you're at home now, but what happens when you have to go back to work full time? How is that going to work for you? So these are conversations that go on. The other piece is the explosion we've really had is with fosters and the number of people willing to foster while they're at home. So the fosters are still shelter animals. They're just in a different place. And many of those will come back at some point in time. Some of them do come back. But we're able to manage that return and kind of space it out enough to match our population so that we can manage it and it won't overcrowd us or put us in a situation where we can no longer, we get too many animals and not enough release for them. I will say the other is the amazing support we've had from our partner rescues that have come in and stood up and took many animals from us to keep our population down now. So while I anticipate there's the possibility of a surge, and Lex would probably be again the best person to say this, but I would say everything I've heard is those adopters that have come in to adopt have made a commitment to that adoption, and I don't believe that the circumstance of the COVID or any recession impact is really going to change that. once they have that animal, they love that animal, and it's not leaving. So if they can help it.
Yeah,
So,
and research that's being done by the Best Friends Network is actually showing that a lot of people that have brought home dogs because of COVID-19 are starting to think about what happens when they go back to work. And actually, instead of saying, oh, I need to give this dog up, they're thinking maybe I should adopt a second dog in order to keep this one company. So I think we're going to be pleasantly surprised by the community.
Thank you. That's really helpful and hopeful. I appreciate that. The other question, you alluded to this, Tom, on the discussion of volunteers. I know how important our volunteers are to the overall OAS procedures and process, and McCaw and so many of these incredible organizations that provide such critical support. So I just want to send a shout out to them as well, thanking them for their continued dedication. And you answered my question about the emphasis on securing additional volunteers through the pandemic, so I appreciate those efforts. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I will yield back to you.
Thank you very much. Vice President Hucker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you all for this. This is great. This great briefing. I was enthusiastic about your restructuring to begin with. You're doing really important work, and particularly, I think at this time, the whole county is counting on your success. So it's really glad to hear about the progress you're making, especially in this first year. My one question, just following up sort of a reverse of Councilmember Albernoz's question, is the report said that you've seen a slight increase in the animals placed in foster care in FY20. And I know I've read media reports about elsewhere there's a big uptake nationally, I think, in adoption, both because there's seniors and others experiencing isolation, not seeing their family as often, and wanting to spend time with a new pet. There's more of us working from home and wanting to spend time with a new pet. I know in my house we have a new rescue kitten and a rescue hamster, so we're doing our part. But I was looking for that data point in the report and surprised that there's only a slight uptick here. And I'm wondering how you assess that, and if you've taken on any new approaches, given that people are working from home during COVID. I read about a shelter in London that sets up video dates for prospective pet parents with pets, so that they could get to know each other, even if people don't feel comfortable leaving the house right away. What are your thoughts?
Well, thanks for the question. And it's just one of the conversations that's happened actually regionally, because some of us share the same resources, whether it's fosters or rescues, or and so we share some of that, but we were also looking at how we did best practices. What I will tell you is that it's really the stat that you're looking at in the item is a compilation of the entire year. So the increase is likely due to what occurred between the end of March and the 1st of July, or the end of June. So that uptick was probably, we received at one point in time over 300 applications for foster. And the outreach for that really didn't have to happen as much as you would think, because we were getting, they were going to the website and they were applying to be a foster, and we were working through those foster applications, and which takes time because we review the applications. We take a look at what their interests are, and depending on what animals we have in the building and what we have appropriate for foster care, and trying to make those connections. We have more animals in foster now than I think we've ever had, and plus we have the people who have fostered for us. There's 80 to 90 people that have been fostering for us on a regular basis, especially with kittens and with kitten season, which really isn't a season anymore. It's pretty much year round. But I would say, and the question is that we saw a huge uptick that from a process perspective and number of animals, we believe that managing right now is how we're being managed is adequate for the number of animals that are available to or that require some foster care.
Okay.
Again, like I said, it's usually kittens or it's dogs that are maybe struggling. It could be some that need treatment or are injured. There's a variety of things. Foster's also put.
I may have mixed you up. I'm sorry. There's a slight uptick in Foster, but I think I meant to ask, how is the growth or lack of growth of adoption? It's really adoptions that are up everywhere. I'm sorry.
Well, I don't. One is I don't think since we're doing it by appointment, it's managed, so it's not. So we were very successful in August. I think over 100 animals were adopted in August during the event that we had. Since we're managing the adoption, because we have to limit the number of people that can come in the building and stick to our protocol, so to speak. So, but I believe that if the interest continues as it has been, because we haven't had a problem filling slots. They're pretty quick, and we're getting them in there, getting people in there as quickly as we can. So,
sure, we both read about shelters that have emptied out now, and so I just don't want us to miss the opportunity, and I want you to know. I think we're eager to get you any resources you need to take advantage of this, so you can get all the adoptions up. Since it's appropriate to the topic, this is Rosie.
There you go. Well, I'll also just say real quickly that the adoptions, the key to the adoptions is in foster is what is our population inside the facility. You know, we see weekly reports on our shelters for dogs and cats, and we're rarely above 150, 160 dogs and cats within the facility, which means we're maintaining a population where care can be accomplished by the staff that we have. Plus, we're able to provide all of those animals that are available for adoption and get them out there. And that adoption process is meeting that goal and reducing our shelter population.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thanks for all your good work.
Thank you, and thank you all from the Office of Animal Services and everyone, and the volunteers and everyone else for working with us so that we can come back in a different way and be that much more successful. So congratulations, Tom, on your new department. You're a new guy with, you're an old guy with a new department and a new area. So
and a new beard. So the beard's relatively new. So,
yeah, that's right. The next time we see it, we don't know whether it'll be longer or shorter, but it's always good to see you. Thank you very much. The next topic that we have is an agenda. The next item on our agenda is the briefing on Perideo Bay Terrace significant incident involving the drowning of 16-year-old Fitz Campbell Thomas. Please let us begin by offering our sincere condolences to Mr. Thomas's family. Our purpose today is to hear from Chief Scott Goldstein from the Montgomery County Fire and Rescue, Assistant Chief Dinesh Patel from the Montgomery County Police Department, Assistant Fire Chief Ed Ratcliffe from Montgomery County Fire and Rescue, and Acting Director Cassandra Onley, the Emergency Communications Center from Montgomery County Police Department, and to understand what occurred and to hear recommendations and actions so that this type of tragic event will not occur again. And with that, I'm going to ask Ms. Farag if she will please begin with the topic.
Good morning, everyone. As Mr. Katz had pointed out, this is a review of the incident that occurred on June 4th. The incident review report is attached for your reading. If you wanted a quick reference to a picture of the location, that's on page 2 of the packet. This incident really highlights the complexity of both what the Emergency Communications Center undergoes every day, as well as the complexity of Potomac River rescues. I also wanted to underscore the fact that technology is not perfect, and it can be difficult to precisely locate cell phone callers. And a lot of these different situations came together in this particular incident and made it even more complex than usual. The public safety staff will go through a PowerPoint presentation to provide you information on this. But I just also wanted to point out the fact that there were multiple phone calls from the site. There was also several conferencing incidents between Loudoun County Emergency Communications Center and the Montgomery County Emergency Communications Center as well. And so I'm going to turn it over to public safety staff to run. I'm going to share my screen with the PowerPoint, and they will walk you through it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Susan, and thank you, President Katz and Councilmember Albornoz and Hucker. And President Katz, as you said in your opening remarks, we all are heartbroken at the tragic and untimely death of Fitz Thomas, and believe that significant incident report objectively represents the work of Montgomery and Loudoun counties in the response to that incident on June 4th. Susan outlined the points of the challenges that the Potomac River creates in emergency response, and this review has opened up additional dialogue and meaningful change for all of the jurisdictions along the river, which include Loudoun County, Fairfax County, Frederick County, and Montgomery County. As all hazards and public safety response organization, it always has been and will continue to be our primary mission and responsibility to effectively and efficiently respond to these emergencies. And the team here today will help work through the report and the packet that Susan has put together. You introduced the members, so I will pass off to Assistant Chief Patel.
Good morning, members of the Public Safety Committee. Thank you for taking the time today to hear a briefing about this matter. Certainly the police department, in partnership with the fire department, shares our condolences for this tragedy involving Fitz. We're all looking at our operations, as the chief alluded to, working with Loudoun and always in a posture of trying to get better. We have two of our subject matter experts, Assistant Chief Edward Radcliffe and Cassandra Onley, our Acting Director of the Emergency Communications Center, who will be providing the briefing and working through the timeline this morning. The partnership at ECC is a strong one, and as I said, we're always working to look at the many complexities of technologies that we use, and serving a wide population amongst a wide array of geographies and different challenges, and working to be better every day. And with that, I will turn it over to Assistant Chief Radcliffe to get us started.
Thank you and good morning. We have a quick PowerPoint to go through just to highlight some of the items in the significant incident review, as well as a brief timeline. Again, this was a joint significant incident review between Montgomery County and Loudoun County. If you go to the next slide. Susan, can we go to the overview?
Oh, it changed for me. It hasn't changed for you?
Nope.
Not yet.
Oh, great. Can you see that?
Yes. Yep.
All right, I can't do it in the full PowerPoint. I'll just do it this way.
All right, so after the incident on June 4th, Chief Johnson from Loudoun County Fire Rescue wanted to have a joint review done by Loudoun County and Montgomery County, and he gave us a charge which basically dealt with the communication centers, both in Loudoun County and Montgomery County, the interaction between those communication centers from the time of the initial call to the time that the first units arrived on the scene. And a large group of people got together and studied all the different data. If you go to the next slide. So we reviewed all the data, including the audio tapes, the reports, witness accounts, and came up with a significant incident review describing how Montgomery County and Loudoun County can better communicate with these types of incidents in the future. Next slide. So just a little background on the Potomac River. The Montgomery County borders the Potomac River for about 28 miles. For operational purposes, we break out that river from the swift water part to the flat water part. So if you go from the DC line to the Seneca Breaks, which is about where the Bretton Woods golf course is, it's about 17 miles long. There's very treacherous parts of that river. We run most of our incidents in that part of the river. If you look from January 2019 to June of 2020, we responded to 116 incidents in that part of the river. The upper part of the river, which is we consider flat water, it's much wider. The current isn't as strong. It's about 20 miles long from Seneca Breaks up to the Monocacy River. For that same time period, we ran 7 incidents in that 20-mile stretch. All those calls were for stranded kayakers or jet skiers who ran out of fuel, and we did not request any assistance from our Virginia counterparts for those 7 incidents. They were all handled by Montgomery County Fire Rescue. Next slide. So a little before 6 o'clock, 1748, Montgomery County ECC received the first phone call from a person in Loudoun County for a possible drowning. The map you see on the left-hand side is the map that the call taker was referencing using the cell phone data and rapid SOS. And that she was able to, based on that, the caller clearly said they were in, River Creek Country Club, and the victim was in the river. She processed the call using our point of entry into the river, which is right across. If you look at the second map, Edwards Ferry fortuitously is right across the river, and that's where we were dispatching units to. Next slide. So a little under 3 minutes, Montgomery County ECC dispatched 4 boats, 731, 729, Swiftwater boats 730, 730 Bravo, paramedic rescue engine 709, which was at Station 14, and medic 714 and battalion chief 703. We do have a boat stationed at Station 14, which is the closest station to Edwards Ferry, and that was actually down at the Anglers ramp doing a public safety outreach on water safety. Next slide. So 1804, paramedic engine 709 arrives at Edwards Ferry boat ramp. A minute later, our supervisor notifies Loudoun County ECC that we're running a call in the Potomac River. We did not request assistance from them at this point. We usually wait for the units who are responding to the incident to request other resources if needed. It was just a courtesy notification in case they received additional phone calls. At 1806 and 1807, Montgomery County ECC receives the calls from Loudoun County. Those call transfers or call conferencing from 911 callers who the calls actually went to the Loudoun County ECC and then were conferenced in with Montgomery County. Next slide. About 1809, both callers who were on the phone with the call takers said they had found Mr. Thomas, and one of our call takers provided CPR instructions. A Montgomery County Police search manager at 1811 called one of the callers on the Loudoun County side to try and get a better location. He was able to discern Mr. Thomas was on the Virginia side, notified us. At 1812, we notified Loudoun County that the victim is on the Loudoun County side and to request the dispatch of Loudoun County resources. Next slide. So 1816 Loudoun County dispatches their units to the location. 1824, we did have one of our boats who was first in the water report some motor troubles. A couple of seconds later, Loudoun County units arrived on the scene. Next slide. So in line with Chief Johnson's charge of looking at this incident and preventing this happening again, Montgomery County had 4 recommendations, which Loudoun County joined us in those recommendations. The first is that we're going to send a first responder to any incident that happens in the river. Send a first responder to the other side of the river. So regardless of where you are, you would have fire rescue resources on both sides of the river, and that's in case not only to communicate with the 911 caller to provide additional information, get additional information from the caller, but also if someone is found to provide immediate medical assistance once they're on the shore. The second recommendation is that Montgomery County ECC, which is the primary jurisdiction for the Potomac River, the quicker we know there's an incident in the Potomac River, the quicker we can get our boats there. And so we had some discussion with Loudoun County that if the call happens to bounce to Loudoun County, that they quickly conference in Montgomery County so we can send our resources jointly. The next recommendation is that when Loudoun County has questions about a specific incident, we have our call taker corral and a dispatch corral, where the dispatch corral is staffed by uniformed firefighters. They're the ones that are in constant contact with the units that are responding and have intimate knowledge in what's going on in the incident. And so we made sure that they had the right number to contact those folks that are directly involved in the incident. And then the final recommendation, which is not really the communications center purview, but this incident kind of brought to light, how should we be responding regionally to the Potomac rivers. And so we referred that to the COG fire chiefs to discuss how do we send closest resources to where the reported emergency is on the river. And I think that's the end of the presentation.
Okay. Chief, or did anyone else have any additional? Yeah.
I'd like to ask the council members the information that you have seen in this slide deck, the information that the committee put together in your report, provided a much extensive set of supporting information as to how the calls were received and the circumstances at that time, and would like to thank everybody involved and ask yourself and the committee members for questions.
Well, thank you, and thank you for being here and giving us this update. Obviously, our goal is to never have this happen again. That any family would have to go, any person or any family would have to go through this. You mentioned in the slide, I think it was on slide 10, I believe I'm right, but that if something, I know the cell phone situation, that it bounces off the towers and therefore you're not exactly sure where the person's standing. It's how the cell phone bounces off of the nearest tower or whatever. I'm not I'm not a technically handy person, but I know that there's issues associated with that. But on the slide it says that any if it bounces, that Montgomery County would conference in Loudoun County on any of those issues. Is Loudoun County also going to conference in Montgomery County if that happens from their direction? How is that going to work?
So Ed or Cass?
Yes.
Yeah, so the recommendation is that if a cell phone pings to the Loudoun County, they're going to conference in us so we can get our resources started as quick as possible. They are going to send their resources as well, so we can have folks on both sides of the river. But the longer it takes to get the call conference, just the longer it takes to dispatch units. So we want to make sure that the conferencing of the 911 calls happens in the shortest amount of time.
And you're obviously Frederick and other places that are on the Potomac, Frederick County and other places. Have you been in touch with them so that they can avoid this type of situation, and that they're aware of what we're going through and our suggestions and everything associated with it?
So, Michelle, if you're available, or if you can you open up Assistant Chief or Operations Chief Kinsley's camera? Mr. Katz, the 4 operations chiefs for the 4 counties have been working together collaboratively since the beginning to do exactly that question and that request. As the report outlined and as the bullet in the slide deck outlined, the mutual aid operation agreement from the Council of Government has a specific plan for the Potomac River. It dealt with the navigable parts of the Potomac River much more extensively than what we refer to as the upper river. And the task that Chief Johnson, Chief Butler from Fairfax County asked is that the Potomac River plan be included or expanded to include that. So that's part is ongoing. But the 4 operations chiefs have been working extensively together to do just that, coordinate and prepare for expanded operations in the area above Seneca, as we basically would describe it as that. And that work is ongoing. So if there's any other additional questions, John may be the best one suited for that.
Yeah, and I am here, Chief. My camera apparently is not working unless I'm locked out somehow on the Zoom end.
We can certainly hear you. Thank you.
Thank you.
And one of the questions is precisely locating the cell phone callers is a challenge for both jurisdictions. Is there anything that can be done to improve that situation?
Cass?
Sorry, can you repeat the question one more time?
Yeah, the question is precisely locating the cell phone callers is obviously a significant challenge for both jurisdictions, for any jurisdiction as far as that goes. Is there anything that can be done to improve the location of the calls made on cell phones? And does that require better technology? Does that mean we need to check with their friends from the cell phone industry to see what can be done to help in that situation? What is the next best step for that?
So in this particular case, we did have phase 2 in rapid SOS data points from the caller. Our current phone technology integrates phase 2 and rapid SOS data into our integrated mapping solution. With any solution that comes about, it all depends on the caller's device that they have, the cell towers, and the accuracy of the caller's location. So there are technologies that continue to evolve, and we are looking at that. As referenced in the document, Loudoun has switched over to their EZNet, which Montgomery County, we're going to do that the first quarter of 2021. It will not eliminate totally everything to accuracy, but it will provide better accuracy, velocity, and faster speed for the data to receive to the call taker.
And Mr. Katz, if I could just add, I think a balance of this is as the review is going on and there's been more public interest. The process is both a combination of technology and the human factor of getting information, from callers, processing information, our call takers, undertaking all the information they can, both from a person as well as the technology, and then coming up with the best solution of where our response is intended to go.
Okay. The Montgomery County has large unmapped areas. Does Montgomery County have large unmapped areas similar to Confluence Park? And how does the ECC and Fire and Rescue and Police handle these calls and types of regions in the county?
To my knowledge, we don't have any unmapped areas. Our GIS base layer is maintained at the county level by DTS and GIS, and they get input from our municipalities and from our partners, our county departments. CPNs or commonplace names are not a static data set, so we update those, and due to COVID, we've had some delays in that, but we are back on track. Keep those in our commonplace names.
How often do these types of conference calls that we've been discussing with other jurisdictions occur, and do they strain the ECC's resources?
Yeah, that's difficult to quantify. It's really dependent upon the current state of the call routing, which is based on the location of the cell towers. We expect the misrouting to decline with the implementation of the EZNet for Next Gen 911 within the first quarter of 2021. As far as the strain on resources, mutual aid coordination of calls is of the utmost importance. So we'll continue to always look at ways we can evolve and improve.
Okay. And is there additional staffing that's going to be needed? I mean, we stand ready, all of us stand ready to be assistance at, how we can and when we can.
We're always constantly evaluating other solutions, additional tool sets, and much like Loudoun County, we want to be able to support our operations by focusing the supervisor's attention on monitoring the operational incidents instead of troubleshooting technology.
And Mr. Katz, to add to that, we are constantly looking at the shift schedules and the impacts it has on our employees at ECC. We've talked about that in the past with the Public Safety Committee and plans that we're working on there, as well as looking at how Next Gen 911 is going to, when we're taking text messages as a 911 call, how is that going to affect our processing of calls? In some ways, it could probably be very helpful for a person to be able to contact us where they may not be able to otherwise. But as we've all done on text message or different ways of communicating, you may not get the message the exact same way. So it's a constant evolution as technology adapts and grows, and our processes. There was a time when you just picked up your phone from your house and you called 911, and it was simple in a way. And as things have grown, cell phone technology has grown, and GPS technology has helped. But so this, from the staffing component, it's always going to be a continual process to figure out what's the right fit for what the need is at the time.
And obviously, a cell phone, when it's working, is wonderful. And in some areas, the phone, at times, even if you think it's working, it'll go in and out, and that becomes a difficult situation. And texting the same way. I mean, it takes a couple seconds to know whether the text went through and whether how it was delivered and if the person saw it. So all of those are things that we need to, and I understand we are looking into. And while the equipment trouble for Montgomery County Fire and Rescue Service Boat 731 did not play an impactful role in this particular response, what backup processes are in place to address these types of equipment failures in river rescues in general?
Hey, this is Chief Kinsley. I can answer that one, and my video is now working, so that's great. We always send 4 boats to river rescue calls. In this particular case, we sent 2 operations boats and 2 boats from our swiftwater rescue team. So the redundancy in the boats acts as the backup. If we had an equipment failure like this one, our only options are to paddle back to shore or have one of the redundant safety boats tow broken down boat back to shore. So if you look at the timing of this one, about the time that our boat made the transmission that they had engine trouble, our units could see that Loudoun County was on the scene on the other shore. They saw the lights. Our incident commander radioed Loudoun County if they needed our boats to respond or not, and they replied in the negative. So our personnel chose not to launch a second boat, which was ready to launch to go rescue our guys. They actually just paddled back to shore. So we always operate with that redundancy.
Good. My colleagues, Councilmember Albornoz or Councilmember Hucker, did you have any questions?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thanks. If I can just jump in really quickly. First, I want to begin by where you began, Mr. Chairman, and as well as Chief Goldstein and Assistant Chief Patel, and just acknowledging the Thomas family and Fitz, and also his friends. I mean, it's hard for all of us to imagine and process what they went through in those horrific minutes trying to save their friend's life, and I think we can all acknowledge they did everything they could to do so. And so I very much appreciate you, Mr. Chairman, too, for putting this on the calendar as quickly as we could put it on the calendar, and also acknowledge the reporting around this terrible, tragic incident, which I thought was outstanding, and has helped shed light on an issue that is important we address moving forward. And also acknowledge the horrific irony that perdido means lost in Spanish. And so it's just hard to process all of this on every conceivable level. I want to begin my question sort of from 30,000 feet. Well, just last week, we had record level flooding in our area and torrential downpours, and we're seeing the effects of climate change in so many ways, both in our area and around the country. Are we seeing, because of those effects or other issues, calls rising or more issues around the Potomac River, or have the numbers stayed steady over the last several years?
I'll start and then I'll ask Ed or John to join in. The gorge itself, the Great Falls area, is always an active place for the public safety agencies because of the serene and peaceful nature of the river, with the extraordinarily dangerous and on average about 5 or 6 drownings in the gorge a year. We are in the gorge usually once a day during the summer months on the weekends, Saturday and Sunday, and sometimes 2 or 3 times. The nuance of this year we saw an uptick in aquatic or natural body of water utilization based upon the closure of other recreational swimming or recreational pool areas. So a lot of the community pools, a lot of the local and homeowner association pools were closed based upon the pandemic situations. That impacted both streams, lakes, as well as the river itself, which is what contributed to our extensive public outreach activity. And thank you to Susan Kennedy and the folks from the county cable who helped provide information about that, because people go to the gorge, go to the river. It is quite attractive, but also quite dangerous. So this year we saw that uptick, but the number of incidences along the river have been normalized and is always a concern in the gorge area. Ed or John?
Hey, this is John. I was waiting for Ed if he had any statistics or whatever to add, but I'll just add that the Potomac River is a unique bird. Every day it is a different type of river depending on the river level, the level of water. That's why our folks get out and train as much as possible so that they can learn the idiosyncrasies of the river, the hidden dangers in the river. With our guys out there, guys and gals out there training every day is when we notice the uptick in the general public out on the river swimming and fishing and in the water, which led to our decisions to do that community outreach to try to prevent the 911 call from river-related incidents. The particular area, Perdido Bay, is an area on the Potomac River that's above the Seneca Breaks. We consider that normally to be flat water, not swift water. But changing weather patterns, usually upstream and away from Montgomery County, will dictate the level of water on that part of the Potomac River and thereby the speed of the water flowing. So quite often that part of the river becomes more dangerous, and we do classify it as swift water, and we will alter our responses on a daily basis based on the water level and speed. So we really do pay attention to the weather and its effects on the Potomac River.
Thank you. That's really helpful. My questions are sort of in two buckets, and to Assistant Chief Patel's comments about the human element of this, I want to start there. Obviously, if it had been me, I'm not sure that I would have been able to provide any kind of direct assistance on where I was, particularly folks who are new to that area, may not be as familiar. And so when the calls come in, especially given the volume that we experience, what prompts are 911 operators trained in to be able to, as best they can, within reason, decipher where somebody is? Are there questions like, where did you park your car? How far did you walk from where you parked your car? What kinds of prompts are there available to operators specific to these areas, especially those areas where we know we have greater problems? And what does that training look like?
I'm going to defer to Acting Director Onley. She's been working at the center longer, I think, than I've been a cop. So she is our expert to walk us through the process and our protocols.
Yes, sir. So once the caller calls in and we get their Annie the information, the number, and the location, it'll automatically populate on the map. We have to confirm where they are. If they do not know, we will ask cross streets, landmarks. It depends if they're in a park. We will ask where they parked at, how far in, how long it took them to walk to where they are. So yes, we do ask those questions, and they are trained as such.
And as part of the training, particularly on cross-jurisdictional issues, is there time and space allotted within training among 911 call centers and call takers? Obviously, we conduct extensive training within our own operation system, but is there cross-training offered among our local jurisdictions, and what does that look like?
That's a good question. So that's something that the Emergency Number Systems Board and Mako Communications is looking at as well, that we can start to partner together and do training. So for each jurisdiction to work cooperatively and do that interconnectivity and interagency training. So that is something that we are planning to do as a state.
Terrific. That is obviously important. And then it was not the case in this specific incident, but when somebody calls in with English as a second language or not being able to communicate directly, what provisions are placed to be able to address those kinds of issues, also as it relates to cross-jurisdictional issues?
Right. So we do have the ability to conference in an interpreter. However, we also have several staff members that are bilingual in different languages. So if they are the ones that are answering that call, they will go ahead and use their language skills. If they're not, then if somebody's near them, if it's an urgent call, then we can go ahead and have another call taker plug in with them and get that information. If not, if it's not an emergent or there's nobody there that speaks the language, then if we already have an address and it's unknown what the emergency is, we can go ahead and start an incident to that location until we can get an interpreter on the line and verify what is going on.
Okay, thank you. So next bucket of questions is around technology, to follow up on Chairman Katz's questions with regards to technology. And first, let me give significant kudos and thanks to Senator Cheryl Kagan, who has been working on next generation policy and legislation at the state level. And I know we're transitioning here in our county and are now able to take text message calls, and so we're heading in the right direction. But as this case illustrated, we still have a long ways to go. And so I wonder if, are there technologies that we are aware of, either Chief Goldstein or John or Ed or somebody else from the team can articulate, that we are actively exploring in other jurisdictions that help us to not have to rely on the towers and to have more precise geo mapping. You know, you look at companies like Uber and some of these, rideshare companies that can pinpoint where you are exactly within 3 or 4 feet. Is there efforts being made? I know there always are, but if you could describe the efforts currently being made to identify other technology solutions that are out there, or is this just a weak spot in our 911 system where technology may not have caught up yet?
So I'll just open before I turn it over to Cass. I think, Cass and I both spoke to Dan Morse for Washington Post extensively about technology in this incident. And the Uber analogy came up, and I understand it from the average person's perspective, myself included. You sit there, you hit a button, and a car shows up, and it's the magic of technology. But I think it's important to remember that Uber, as an example, is not a mission critical, life saving. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, and if it doesn't, it means maybe you have to walk down a block to get the car. And what also happens sometimes with Uber, and I've seen this happen in dense urban environments. You could have this happen in another environment because it's GPS based, that if you don't, if the car doesn't show up right in front of you, oftentimes the Uber driver calls you and says, "Hey, where are you?" And in that same way, we really do try to synthesize the human component of where somebody is, because it could be different from where they're seeing and where the help's actually needed. So Cass can get into a greater description, but I think we're always looking at new technology and balancing how it fits in, how long it will take to train, deploy, of course, what are the costs involved. But Cass can walk through kind of where we are and kind of where we're going.
Okay, thank you, Chief. So yes, actually this week there is a virtual conference going on that my IT team is listening in on, and I'm listening as well. But there's another solution out there that we're looking for mapping that will definitely aid the call takers in gathering more information and more accurate information. And we're very pleased with the product and what it is able to provide. As far as the EZNet, which I've already discussed before, for the first quarter of 2021, that will definitely provide us the speed of the delivery of the call and more accuracy and the reliability. So that's definitely going to help us. But as technology continues to evolve, we are always looking at anything that other agencies have, especially within Maryland or Virginia or any partners around us throughout the country. We are always doing our homework to see what we can do to improve our practices.
Thank you, and I'll end with this for now. This is a little abstract, but I had a thought. We obviously have a very effective Amber Alert system and other emergency management systems in place to help identify and seek our residents' help when an incident occurs. And I wonder if it would be worth exploring, if we haven't already, technology, particularly for those boaters and those people who frequent the Potomac River often, so that if an incident were to occur, their cell phones could ping if we're trying to track somebody or find someone, just to have more eyes and ears out there and expand the reach of our emergency responders to address critical issues that we know every second matters in our recovery. So I encourage us, if we aren't already, to see if there's the possibility, and obviously I haven't thought through the legal or liability implications of something like that, but I think there is precedent now as we try to seek our residents' help in emergency response to be able to expand our reach. So with
Mr.
that,
Alvarado,
yes.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I didn't cut you off. So we have procedures in place and capability in place from a technology standpoint, working with the Office of Emergency Management to both either use the Alert Montgomery system or, if need be able to actually hit cell phones within a geographical area, even if somebody isn't subscribed to Alert Montgomery, depending on the nature of the incident. As was outlined in the presentation earlier, one of our search managers was monitoring the radio and was able to start getting involved in helping figure out where the people were with fits. And part of that process can be that, and we do this, the search manager team is built really, or really I think formulated from the standpoint of looking for missing people. Somebody, that may suffer from Alzheimer's and it's, 20 degrees out. The urgency of deploying quickly and effectively to find a person or a missing child that might be autistic or something like that. Emergency management is a great partner for us, and we utilize their tools. They actually get our critical incident pages, so they know what's going on, and they are able to help us use different technologies to get the message out. And to sometimes it's telling people to stay inside if it was a threatening situation, but if it's a situation where we need more eyes and ears out there, those technologies and protocols exist now.
Good. Mr. Chairman, I yield back to you.
Thank you very much. Vice President Hocker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thanks to everybody for the presentation, and Susan for your very thorough packet as usual. I, like my colleagues, want to obviously echo our condolences for Mr. Thomas and his friends and family. It's really such a heartbreaking and disturbing story, and as the chairman said, there's just no question we're all here to make sure that we have to do everything possible to make sure it never happens again. I have tremendous respect, as you all know, for our 911 operators and the importance of their work and the dedication they show and the stress they're under. And I want to make sure they're getting all the resources and training that they need. I'm surprised in this incident by multiple decisions and questions and decisions by multiple operators on both sides of the river. And I have a few questions about that. I know much of that analysis went into the joint recommendations, which are very, I think, well thought out, and I agree with all of them. But it feels to me, listening to the calls over and over and writing up a transcript, like that there's the scripts are very important, obviously, but it seems like there's sort of a very rigid adherence to the script, which leads to jumping to conclusion in a couple of cases, particularly about the location of the victim. And I want to make sure I'm understanding that right. The first call, Ms. Stefkovich places, she says, we're at River Creek, the club in the back, we're all swimming in the river. We had a friend swimming and he's under the water, and the operator in Montgomery County picks up on the word river, where are you in the river, as she said. And Ms. Stefkovich replies, if you go to River Creek, like the gate, and you drive all the way back, I understand that the Montgomery County operator isn't thinking first that this call is likely to be coming in from a different state, but that is part of the training. They're trained for that possibility. Is that correct?
Correct.
Right. Okay. So if she's doing the geolocation and was given the location River Creek, that's in Virginia on the map, that would have appeared on her map, right? Where did that break down? I was confused about that in the report.
No, it did not appear on the map.
The River Creek Club doesn't show up on the map? Okay.
not on ours.
And then the 606 call taken by the Virginia operator, Ms. Stefkovitz again says, we called about someone in River Creek and they went to the Maryland side of River Creek. She means the rescuers obviously did, and we're on the Virginia side, and the Virginia operator says, okay, are they in Montgomery County? I would think it'd be more helpful to ask an open-ended question like, where are you and where is the victim? She asks, are they in Montgomery County? And Ms. Stefkovitz again explains, we can see them from across the Potomac. She's referring to the rescuers, but the operator assumes she's talking about the victim. The operator, with that assumption, asks, are they in Montgomery County? And that leads to the decision to send a call about a Virginia incident, the second call, over Montgomery County. Did I understand that right? In terms of what the Virginia operator did?
I can't answer for the Virginia operator.
The incident report says that's longstanding practice with the Loudoun County Fire and Rescue to just send every call that references the river to Montgomery County. Is that true in Fairfax as well? And does that get addressed by recommendation number 4 in the significant incident report?
And can you address that?
Yep. Yeah, yes, sir, it does. I mean, it includes the whole Potomac River that borders Montgomery County, which would include Fairfax County, Loudoun County, and Frederick. So yes, that would cover that whole area.
Okay, so in the recommendation 4 on page 25, when it refers to the response updates as proposed by the fire chiefs from Loudoun and Fairfax, they're not the only ones that participate, those two jurisdictions. They're just the ones that made the recommendation, the proposal.
Correct. They wrote a letter, a joint letter from those two fire chiefs to the chairman of the COG fire chiefs, which happens to be Chief Goldstein, to look at the whole response on the Potomac River. So it was based on a letter from those two fire chiefs.
From those two chiefs. Has Fairfax also been in the practice of calling Montgomery as soon as there's any incident in the river rather than responding themselves?
Yes, the practice in the lower part of the river, and again, we get a lot more calls down there. They conference in Montgomery County pretty quickly. Typically in the lower part of the river, our boats are going to be there first. So the quicker Montgomery County knows about it, processes the call, and dispatches, the quicker we can be there.
But Arlington and D.C. now will also participate in this based on the recommendation of the Senior Operations Chief Committee.
Yeah, I defer to Chief Kinsley on that. I'm not sure if they were part of the discussions with the COG.
Yeah, hey, this is Chief Kinsley here. So COG has a mutual aid operations plan, which all the fire departments in the area participate under. An appendix of that plan is the Potomac River Rescue Agreement. That agreement, which was just revised this past May, deals primarily with the lower Potomac River. That would be below Chain Bridge, so consider the D.C. Maryland line and south. In those waters, it's not swift water. The jurisdictional boundary or state-to-state boundary is not as clear-cut as it is between Maryland and Virginia. So there is a different way of operating in the lower Potomac River. You have other agencies like the U.S. Coast Guard that actually have boats on the water that get involved in those. So what that agreement was lacking, and this is where recommendation number 4 is going, is that Potomac River Rescue Agreement be updated to include operations on the upper Potomac River. So that's the Maryland-Virginia border in the Potomac River Gorge. So we are in the process of doing that right now. So the most important thing is, as Chief Radcliffe alluded to, is getting the closest boats, the fastest resources on the scene. And for the most part, in the upper Potomac River, Montgomery County resources are the closest. When we're talking about a victim being in the river, or one of the islands that is in the Potomac River. And there's been a lot of questions regarding the location of the caller. That is very, very important to help get resources to the location of the victim. And the location of the victim may not be the location of the caller. So imagine, for instance, a kayaker that launches from a ramp in Virginia, gets lost and is overdue. The caller is calling from Virginia, but the location of the victim is actually in Maryland at an unknown location. So we do have the technology, as we've alluded to, like Rapid SOS, to try to find where the caller is. We need to find where the victim is and where the best launch point to go get the victim. And while I'm on the topic, I'll just add that our swift water rescue personnel, while they're responding to the river, they do have the phone number from communications of the 911 caller, and they will very often call that caller back to try to get more specific information about where the caller is and where they believe the victim is, so that we can determine the best launch point and the quickest access to the victim.
Right. Okay, that's helpful. No, I definitely understand the need to identify where the victim may not be where the caller is. And then the second Maryland operator surprised me that after the call's transferred there, she says, this is in Montgomery County, Miss Leftwood says, Loudoun County, Leesburg, Virginia. She says, stay on the line. She patches in Virginia, and then she tells Loudoun, looks like we're handling it. You can hang up. I understand there's a recommendation not to do that anymore, but was that regular protocol? And what would be the rationale to send away Loudoun, especially if you don't know exactly where the victim is at this point?
So you're right. So that's the common practice based upon the response plans. So that. I'm sorry,
Pardon?
did you hear me?
Yeah, there was a sound. I didn't get the last part.
So yes, as a result, practices have changed.
They have already. Okay.
Yes.
What was the rationale for that in the first place? It seems antithetical to emergency response to send away resources that are potentially close near the incident until you know exactly what's happening on the ground.
So I'll defer to fire rescue on that one.
So, Mr. Hucker, the circumstances lend to your question. Yes, the need of getting a person to the calling party, a human from public safety, to get information from the caller firsthand versus through the 911 system is core to why on June the 19th we made the change to request first responders from the adjacent Virginia jurisdiction. And as you outlined and Cass addressed, the process moving forward is to continue with conferenced call processing by both centers until the location or a responder is on the scene, so that you can continue that open dialogue with a Montgomery, Maryland call taker, a Virginia call taker, and the caller, him or herself, right, until there's a person on scene with the victim or the call taker.
Thank you. I know we've talked about in this committee many times that we've had longstanding issues with staffing and retention at the call center. One driver we talked about a lot is stress and relatively low pay that leads to an awful lot of turnover. And we talked about this again in May when the contracts were up. Where are we now with that? Director Onley, how would you characterize the morale of the operators, and what's the current annual turnover?
Right. So that's an interesting question. So with the pandemic, the morale fluctuates because they have to worry about their family and their loved ones while coming to work and then going back home. As far as the morale within the center, they're seeing change because we are looking at ECC holistically, whether it's staffing, technology, and improving morale. We do have a social worker. We're going to be hiring a social worker. We're waiting for that to be advertised, so we'll have somebody on site that's able to assist them in times of stress and be able to work through anything that they may be experiencing.
Were these two, are they very experienced call takers or relatively new ones? What's their experience level?
I would say one's experienced and one is, it depends how you classify experience, but one was experienced and one was moderate.
Okay. I really appreciate the thorough review and the recommendations. Do you all anticipate each jurisdiction adopting all the recommendations? If that hasn't happened, or any controversial?
We've already adopted the joint recommendations, and the ones that we needed to implement here were adopted very shortly after the incident.
On June 19th, right?
Correct.
Okay. And what about the other jurisdictions?
Ed or John?
Yeah, I will speak for Loudoun because I've been intimately involved with them throughout this whole process. A lot of those recommendations were processes that they put in place immediately after the June 4th incident. And the report merely documented that those were recommendations so that going forward with posterity, we'd have those. So they are actively engaged. A lot of changes on the opposite side of the river, trying to get up to speed on some of these things.
Thanks. Yeah, no, they're all very thoughtful. Were there any recommendations, just curious, that you wanted that Loudoun didn't agree to, or that Loudoun wanted that you didn't agree to?
No, I'll take a stab at that. No, not really. I think we were all on the same page. From my position as chair of the Senior Ops Committee for COG, the ones that are working with the other operations chiefs to try to get the Potomac River Rescue Agreement updated, there's an ideal state where we'd like to be on how to operate on the Potomac River. We are limited by technologies, waiting for new technologies to emerge to actually make this a much smoother process. So some of the things that we're talking about putting in place, trying to follow the recommendations, will end up being just interim processes until we can get the technology up to speed where we want it to be.
Okay.
So it's going to be a long journey, but we're getting there.
Right, but everybody's agreed at this point.
I think we're all on the same page. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. That's reassuring. And then just the last question, and I certainly may have missed this, but did a communication to us go out about this back in June?
I'm not aware.
I don't know if one did or not, Ms. Trucker. I honestly don't recall if that occurred or not.
Chief?
I don't recall if one did. I would pose to Susan, or I'll look back in my email and get back with Susan on that.
I was surprised to learn about it in August, and I certainly may have missed some communication. It wouldn't be the first email I've missed, but I always really do appreciate, Chief, your emails to the members of this committee, even when there's a toaster that starts a house fire. Often we get questions about that. This is a lot more significant, and it certainly would have been good to hear about it in June if the communication didn't go out. With that, I'll yield, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you all very, very much, Chief, or both chiefs. Anything in addition before we close out this meeting?
As we outlined at the beginning, I believe the group did an excellent job in developing and documenting the abilities to improve and expand communications amongst the communications centers and enable a effective locating and then dispatch of resources to those in time of need. So my appreciation to everybody on the group, my appreciation to Ms. Farag, as you said, for a very detailed and thorough packet and for the opportunity to have this here today. And I transition to the dish.
Thanks, Chief. As always, I appreciate our partnership with the Fire Rescue Services. I having traveled the country and had several different opportunities, I know we have a great public safety system here in Montgomery County, and that partnership is key to being successful, working through issues, and getting better. I appreciate the team's work every single day. Cross-jurisdictional issues and responses and call taking and dispatch are something we do every single day. Certainly I have a 17-year-old son who's an outdoorsman, and Cass and I have had these discussions as well, her being a mother, this incident has had an effect on us, both personally and professionally, certainly not to any caliber that it would with Fitz's family. Our continued condolences, and said we will continue to keep an eye on technology changing, environment changing dynamics, and continue to strive to get better. And we appreciate the support and the interest of the Public Safety Committee. And Susan, as always, thank you. And if there's any follow-up questions that any of you gentlemen have, please feel free to reach out.
And thank you. And Susan, is there anything for your final remarks?
No, I just wanted to let everybody know that the Public Safety Committee has tentatively scheduled a full briefing on the Emergency Communications Center, and that will deal with updates in Next Generation 911, as well as staffing issues and the new text to 911. So I will be touching bases with public safety chiefs for that in October.
Thank you very, very much. Thank you all for being here. As we've all stated several times during this meeting, we are horribly sad that this tragedy occurred, but we sincerely hope that because of the conversations that we are having, that this will help, that we will never, ever have a tragedy like this again. So thank you all for all your hard work, and we thank you for being with us. We are adjourned.
Pick the provider, but we want to start with the provider that we think can provide the most